Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths in the field of consciousness. Their passion is to support your evolutionary growth and change. Join them as they talk about our individual and collective evolutions, explore what living consciously with energetic awareness means in our daily lives. Access with them a state of grace. There is no time, no space. Feel the warmth and acceptance and opening into infinite possibilities. Combining a broad collection of modalities and personal experiences, they share with humility and humor their appreciation for the body, mind, spirit connections that we call life. Now, here is Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-hosts. I'm Joan Newcomb, coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and my partner Janet Barrett's coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Oh, hello, everyone. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Everything is blooming. Rhododendrons, azaleas, trees, and blue sky and clouds out there. It's just gorgeous. So welcome.
Yes, we're having a gorgeous day, and then every once in a while, it's a threatened thunderstorm. So,
welcome to the Northwest.
Exactly. We have a great show for you today. Today, we're talking about conspiracy and consciousness,
among other things.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And my main thing is that we don't go there. So, next topic. No, go ahead.
That's how we deal with it. Well, we want to appreciate Michael, who asked a question when we were on Lance's show and talking about consciousness, and with the zany mystic there. We had part of our conversation was about conspiracy and ETs, etc. And I said at some point there, I don't do that. I don't think that way about life. And he was taken with that because he thought that, you know, that was a part of a lot of New Age information was about those kind of things. And so we thought we would address that. Thank you, Michael, very much. And whatever else shows up today. Looks like my cat just came in the room.
Exactly. Getting in on the there's a conspiracy theory about her food bowl.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
Somebody else is eating out of my food bowl, and I'm just going to protest about it.
Yeah.
We have something new and exciting to offer folks. You and I are starting a monthly conference call, and we're going to call it Conscious Conference Call with Joan and Janet. Mm-hmm. And so if you ever wished that you would be with us during our chats, this is a time to get up close and personal with us. We're going to have a fairly, a more intimate group on the conference line. We're going to talk about whatever topics you suggest to us, and we'll open this up to questions and answers as well, and we will record it for you.
Yeah, so we got some new things in the works. That's going to happen, I think, what date was that? May 28th, Thursday.
Thursday at 7 o'clock Pacific, and that's 10 o'clock Eastern.
And so you want to reach us at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com to reserve a place, and we'll get you the info that you need, and we'll look forward to a great time, and we're interested in doing this once a month and really getting hands-on with our listeners in a different sort of way. So we appreciate all of you that were interested in learning more about life with us. So we welcome you. And what else do we have to announce here? And then,
well, just to let folks know how else to reach us. And so, you can find me at my website. I live there 24/7. It's joan-newcomb.com. That's NEWCOMB.com. You can find out more about the other things that I do and the other places that I'm at on Facebook and on Twitter and things like that. How about you?
Great books that you have that you offer. And you can reach me at www.janetandbeyond.com. And both Joan and I write great blogs weekly about life and take two very different approaches, which is our strength always. And you can subscribe to that off of my site and to receive, and I'll send you a free top 10 tips for enjoying life. And there's really 28 listed. So it's true. I can talk.
There you go. Janet will always over-deliver. And if you want something really succinct and to the point, You can go to my website and get tips for holding your own amidst change. There might be 5 of them, maybe 10. So
Works out really well between the two of us.
yeah.
So, all right. So what's our? Oh, and we're going to take our break at our commercial break halfway in. So
Right. We could leave that as a surprise. They don't have to know
got
that.
it. Okay. So
Hold
what are
your
we
pee
talking
until
about?
halfway through. So today we're going to be talking about conspiracy and consciousness, and you mentioned that Michael had suggested it, and what we were thinking about here is you and I talk about consciousness and what it is like to be conscious, what consciousness feels like. And, in a little bit, you guys listening are going to be able to drop into heart space with us and experience what that feels like to be experiencing the world and talking about these issues from that expansive area of heart. And so that's the thing I found when that question came up when you and I were on the Zany Mystics show, was that conspiracy doesn't exist when you are within consciousness.
Right. Right. I think we find it to be a very fear-based perception, and it's a judgment word, and I'm always looking to eliminate judgments and in my language, and the idea that other people outside of you are controlling you or wanting to control you is a very common thread, I think, through people, and something that maybe is hardwired because it has to do with safety or unknown threats or something, but I think you address it in the way of all when you deal with consciousness, that take the judgments out, just notice information. If you're coming from a place of well-being, then it's just information, and it doesn't have to be anything other than how is it useful to hold that information that way. And, New Age and whatever that is, and that's an old term, I think, anymore. Since you and I have been in this business for at least 30 years.
Old age.
Yes. Or ageless age, is really a lot of those paradigms are set up still in fear. Mm-hmm. And so nothing is new age, it's very old age, is that you're feeling threatened. And that's about power, that's about control. And there's a lot that goes on in the world, and all of it may be true. And how do I respond to it is what I get to do with that. And that's what we kind of want to invite people when we drop into heart is just, how do we hold this information? How do you experience what that discussion's about, Joan? I mean, how do you notice it? I don't even know how to... we've been talking about many things.
Well, I always come back
it's not a good reference for me, really.
Yeah, I always come back to it's there's a dichotomy going on, and the physical body is here in physical reality, and it is experiencing all the limitations that physical reality has. It's going through time and space, from the past to the future, and it is going from being this, fat little infant that can't even turn over up to an elderly person who can't remember. And so, and everything in between, but it is an existence that is made up of being helpless or being in survival, doing what you can to stay alive. That is not who we are. That is our vehicle into this form. But this whole reality is a construct of consciousness. It is a holographic reality that is created from consciousness focusing into form. When we acknowledge ourselves as consciousness, we can experience that expansiveness, and it's a powerful feeling without being a dominant feeling, and we have created our bodies through focusing into form. So do you see what I mean? Where conspiracy doesn't make sense from that, or lizard people coming from other galaxies to invade us and get into our governments. It's being it's as being threatened as being actors on a stage being threatened by a character off stage.
Well, and so I look at this conversation from a place of there's incarnated and discarnated energy, right? So when you're in a discarnated state, it's just information that doesn't have a form. And you choose that consciousness to embody. And in that discarnated state, it's all powerful. It's just, it's just this God essence. It's just consciousness. You incarnate, you go into this form, and all of a sudden you feel the limits. And one way that permeates through is in our sense of power of the individual, because now you have a limit. You can only reach so far physically. You can only think so much. You can only whatever. And inherent in life is this survival and this nourishing and this growing, etc. And so to me, it's a conversation about power, and incarnating is about realizing that you're still powerful, but now you're powerful as a form, and you don't lose it. And it's really about the recovery of maybe the memory or the awakening to that awareness. And so conspiracy for me is there will always be others, because we're relationship-oriented informational biases, and so sometimes they're going to be friendly and sometimes they're not. Sometimes as the world gets bigger and gets smaller in our reality of what the world is, with information and technology communicating, there's lots of things that you can focus on to feel insecure, because feeling insecure is, I think, an inherent state that's always being questioned when you embody. I don't know. I just know that I look to feel good about life. And I can feel good about life even when I'm in pain physically or mentally. I can go back to that place. The body can be unhappy. The thinking can be unhappy. But I can still be okay. And even if death is there, it's like, oh, I get a break from this exercise. That'll be nice. I just hold all that in a different state. It's been very nourishing to do so, because it's coming through a body that's incorporated a lot of illness and limitations that way. I've had to make certain choices about how I wanted to experience life from a conscious place.
So, do we want to continue this conversation, but from the more heightened awareness of heart?
Sure. Why don't we do that? What do you think? A good time? Let's do it. Let's party, people. Okay. So, whatever you're noticing and whatever you're doing in whatever time zone and whatever place you are, there's a part of you that can pay attention and listen in and not have to be concerned about anything other than being willing to engage your curiosity and ask a question. So as you take that part and you empower it, let it get bigger. And let's see, some way we want to drop out of our mindsets and just leave that over there. Oh, there's just a sinking that's happening today. So, kind of like the dumbwaiter going down. There we go. That's kind of what's coming to mind. So just sit in the dumbwaiter and just let it slowly go down. It's always funny how this shows up every week. And open the doors and come out into the kitchen and notice it's a bright, pretty place. It's very bubbly, and it's really about heart. The kitchen is the heart of a house. So that's why we're here. We're here to work, I think, today. And something to make something luscious. And notice how food nourishes us. So maybe there's an energy dynamic here that wants to feel nourished and feel good when we talk about these kind of things. So just notice that you're in this bright, beautiful kitchen. And go find a seat. And just notice the emotional experience happening and what kind of energies are present and what kind of things do you want to cook. Something spicy, something mild, something soothing. Just notice. Let that be your emotions just kind of settle around. Not be attached. So just notice maybe where you go to the cabinet and you kind of surprise yourself by the spices that you pick out or the package mix you pick out or the refrigerator full of fresh fruits and vegetables, wherever it might be. And then put everything out there. And let's just see, as you sink more into the core of what is available to you in unified consciousness and the spectrum that life is and consciousness provides, and into the little bits and pieces. And just let everything kind of feel yourself relax. Maybe a nice glass of wine, maybe a milkshake, fresh cold water, whatever it is, just allow yourself to undo. Put everything else away and just enjoy the experience of cooking. There we go. So, or watch the chef cook. That's a fun experience too. So just notice. And so just let information show up. Don't judge it. But let's cook something. What you got, Joan?
Let me see. Well, there's some leftover quinoa in the fridge, and well,
yeah. So what is that leftover stuff sitting around?
well, it was interesting because you were saying about how there will always be others, and within this hologram, yes, there will, because that's what this is about. This is a planet and a reality of dichotomies, and as consciousness, we've created this playground, this adventures in density and effort land, as an experience to feel the opposite of who we essentially are. And as consciousness, we're essentially limitless. We are, there is no time or space as consciousness. We are joyous and expansive, and we are the all that is. But in this form, yeah, there, it's like the genie from Aladdin, great big powerful being in this itty bitty living space.
Yeah.
So we're squeezed into these physical forms, and the funny thing about it too is the more we try really hard to go away from pain or go towards wealth, away from poverty or whatever, the more we will find obstacles in our way or stumbling blocks, or we'll get these incredible roller coaster rides of highs and lows, and that's actually just what the planet is all about. So it's a much
yeah. I think you put that really well. When you talk about a really good meal or a really good dish, it has a lot of texture, it has a lot of flavors that create together this really exciting to the palate meal, right? You don't just do one note when you cook. Or a lot of people do cook that way because they don't appreciate or have training or know how to use spices well. This is interesting, this cooking thing coming up here. So, and that is an art when you have a really good palate. And sometimes it's a natural, inherent, innate thing, or it's something your senses don't activate that way. Taste doesn't stimulate you, smell doesn't stimulate you. But someone who enjoys cooking is stimulated by all those mediums. That's, look at any cooking show and you have presentation, what it tastes like, what it, and what else is the category? Oh, how they use stuff. I don't know. I love to watch all these cooking shows. Mm-hmm. And what does that have to do with conspiracy? Someone might ask. I don't know.
I'll tell you what, where we started with this. And this is, we look at this, we dropped into heart space and we meandered away from that fear-based thing. So, conspiracy implies that there's something more powerful than us that
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
out to get us. It hides in the shadows. It's a secret
Uh-huh.
behind our backs kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And you may create a storyline that resembles that, and that would be then your experience of reality when you were coming from your physical form in 3D dimension. But when you're coming as consciousness, you see the overarching patterns of life, and there's a sense of being in agreement with however it flows, whether or not it flows pleasantly or not. So how would I make that into you could make that into the kitchen theory is that, as the harried hostess, you've started creating this gourmet meal and you burn the dinner just as the guests are walking in the door. Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
that creates a higher consciousness where you send your husband out to get fish and chips at the local shop, and you've got everybody dressed up, in their pearls and things, and
Mm-hmm.
sitting around eating fish and chips. It turns out to be a perfect evening outside of the perfect pictures and expectations that you had creating it. See,
Well,
so
and in that spiciness, that could be part of that conspiracy. Is how things come together on themselves. We might judge something. Well, we're going to judge something, but it's like anything. It's like color. Color is determined by the color next to it. By itself, you don't really sometimes even see it. It's in contrast to the next color, and food is that way. And so I think what I'm feeling is this the word just breaking down, that an interpretation or a realization that in holding energy in a certain way as a judgment is only that. It's a judgment. And it limits you and sticks you to something. And what I'm feeling is just that has no meaning. That's just an artificial construct. And I'm seeing what happens when you do a meal like a barbecue or someplace. And I'm seeing people attracted by the smell, the scent. And all these different people are coming, and they could be homeless, and they could be your neighbor, and they could be a stranger. And everybody wants the meal. And I can either feel threatened by who shows up, or I can invite them to the meal. And my sense is that my place is to invite everyone to the meal. And if he's a drug banger, and if he's someone else is, no one I would want to go near because I have this personal reference of fear and reaction, etc., I can feel where that's my fear and my judgments. That has nothing to do maybe with that person. But maybe what I'm serving is something that soothes them and provides détente from an al dente sort of positioning. Maybe it's noodles I fixed. Where things change, where things stop. I don't know where this is going, but that's where I am. I think I'm getting hungry.
yeah, I've been thinking about what's for dinner.
Yeah.
So you were talking about contrast, and there's light and there's darkness, and there's and you were talking about how colors exist in contrast to the next color, and and that goes back to this entire planet is the opposite. In a sense, it's the opposite of consciousness. It's created by consciousness to experience the opposite of what it is, and therefore there is contrast.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever had a spiritual awakening or a moment of being enveloped in spirit, it feels like all love. It feels like all ecstasy. It is just incredible joy. And there's a little bit of fear as you're falling into that experience, thinking that you're going to lose a sense of who you are. And yet you find that when you completely embrace it or give yourself to it, you do have a sense of yourself within the all that is. But I feel like we have that anchor point of ourselves because we have a physical form. So our bodies are our anchor points into this reality. And the main thing is that it's supposed to be a dichotomy. It's supposed to be up and down. There's supposed to be pain and pleasure, because that's how this game is set up. And when you're experiencing it as consciousness, then you do see it as an adventure. You see it as a game. You're not taking it so seriously. You're in agreement with, volcanoes blowing up and hurricanes happening and wars and everything like that, because that's what this planet is about. There's going to be conflict because, there's the person the people over in the conflict section, war world are having war, and the people over in happy world are having happy.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Lots of different things are coming up. Thoughts about whatever you focus on becomes more real because it's taking all that energy. And what is a force? The word is blank to me, but reaction and resistance and the push and pull of things that are connected in duality and in the concept, the experience of duality. So duality being, let's say, hot and cold. Well, there's really polarity there between those 2 points. There's a whole range of other things between hot and cold, which is really about temperature. So I focus on something, and my biases, perceptual biases of how I want the world to be experienced, tell me that I like hot water more than cold water. And when I experience cold water, I don't feel so good. But I can get too hot water and I can bubble and boil, right? And so what if I liked lukewarm water? What if I liked cool water? It's kind of like, when you go into the ocean or a pool and it's freezing, so you tip your way in and you hope that that'll do it. And then there's those people that just dive in and the shock happens all at once. There's just different ways to engage how we think we are. And we're kind of like that with information and how to focus. If I'm going to focus that the world is a out of control, negative sort of place in my reality, then everything around me is going to support that belief. And it'll start showing up in my outer world. And it's my inner discontent that's showing up. Now, I'm not saying, and this is where it always gets tricky about how we create our reality, but the truth is we create our reality. We do. People, get over it already. People have been moving all around the world. People who live and stay in the same place have certain expectations of that environment. Stuff happens. Those people could move and experience something different physically, but it wouldn't support where that thinking was. They bring it with them. We see that all the time. So if things are negative here, they're going to be negative there. And so there's no point in going, because wherever I go, it's going to be negative.
Right. Wherever you go, there you are. And you're talking about geographic cures, which don't cure anything because you're the same person. You're the common denominator with everything that goes on. And, and it's true that, if you have preconceived notions about things, those are the lenses through which we see and experience the world. So if you're, if you have stinking thinking, you're viewing the world through negative lenses, that's, everyone is out to get you. It's a paranoia. It's a world of paranoia.
And you don't want to scream, "Oh, here I am, come and get me."
Right.
Because that ties into that belief, because you're in that belief in resistance. So that doesn't work either.
Yeah. So there's a more empowered way to experience the world, and that's experiencing it as consciousness sitting within this physical form. So just like dropping into heart space, you feel the greatness of who you are, but it's not your ego, it's the collective who you are. You feel the oneness, you feel that greatness, and you're in agreement with what is being created. You can see, you're in alignment with it, and you can see how you've created all the patterns and all the occurrences and all the interactions to fall into place. So it's not so much, moving from one place to the other, but it's a shift in perspective that makes you realize how powerful you really are.
And we are powerful.
So it is time to take a commercial break, but stay tuned because we're going to talk more about conspiracy and consciousness in a state of grace.
Are you ready to take a quantum leap in your life? Joan Newcomb is a conscious mastery coach who empowers you to navigate life from your own inner wisdom using energy techniques. Contact her through her website, joan-newcomb.com, and take conscious mastery of your life today. That's joan-newcomb.com.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you're dealing with? Janet Barrett is a subtle energy empath. Feeling the energies present in your myths and language, she offers a supportive, non-judgmental viewpoint. Experience new ways to relate to and release the energies in those stories. Receive a $25 discount on your first session. Email Janet for an appointment at janetb@janetandbeyond.com. Come explore with Janet. New possibilities for a joy-filled life.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And today we are talking about conspiracy and consciousness. And we've been talking about everything up, right, left, and center. You want to recap the first half of the show?
Oh gosh, let's see, everybody. We're cooking. Actually, we're in the heart of ourselves in the kitchen there, looking at all the different ingredients, enjoying, relaxing ourselves, understanding that diversity and different qualities, when put together, don't have to be in a judgment place of conspiracy, but of a place of harmony, working together differently. And we just got to get out of our judgments about what life is like and realize how powerful we are in creating that setup. I don't know if that explains it at all, but that's...
So how I would explain it, similar, I'm building on your analogy from before, is that as consciousness, you are the chef and the sous chef and the dishwasher. So how do you run your kitchen?
And who comes to your meal, right? And that's the diversity that and flavor, and that things aren't anything other than what you believe them to be. So allowing, as consciousness doesn't judge, consciousness allows. And that we as people and individuals judge and set up the physical component of what consciousness is deciding to experience. And in the recognizing the strength of all this is recognizing things, the power that is hidden. And then maybe that's where we want to look at, is that so much of life comes from a place of hidden agendas within ourselves and from other people. And that fear of something that becomes fearful because we don't understand it and we don't know the motivation, but we can sense that there's something there. And it sets up an unease of being. And when we do this work, Joan and I look to be this all the time in this heart-centered space, this core of unified consciousness as much as we can, because we make different choices when we're not in a reactive mode, when we're not in emotional mode. Because even a state of joy can be as wonderful as it is just as reaction as much as fear. So it's not that we don't embrace it, but we understand that let's just come from a place of well-being in our world, understand what motivates us, and we have much clearer agendas start to disappear.
Right. You're talking about hidden agendas, and I was thinking about how, I presume this is the same for you, but when we do an energy session with consciousness technologies, how important it is to come with it, suspend your beliefs, suspend your expectations, to come with it with an open mind, like a beginner's mind. And, your client can show up with a laundry list of complaints, and, it can be really helpful and cathartic for them to list their list of complaints. But when I drop into heart space and start working, I work with whatever is showing up, and I deliberately don't go towards fixing the problem, because in fixing a problem, you're acknowledging that there is a problem, and you're making that problem more solid. And you're
limited by how many outcomes can be possible with it.
Exactly. Right. Yes. So, you can approach life in that same way. You can have open-minded wonder in approaching life, and it opens up infinite possibilities for things to unfold. And you can then, therefore, bring instantaneous change into your life, or amazing transformations into your life, because you've opened up those extra doors, and you've shifted the direction you were going in.
Well, we look at energy, or if I have a client, and if someone came to me and said, there's a bunch of people over there that are treating me poorly, okay, and I would look at that from within heart state, and I would ask, what are you getting out of being treated poorly by a group of people over there? And we would be able to look at, oh, well, that validates this, that validates that. Okay, is that useful? Is that getting you the results you want in your life? And that's the way I would take anything, is what's going on. And in that, it kind of reveals your hidden agendas, your fears, your biases, and of whatever. Oh, I can't be happy. Someone is always picking on me. And that's really about the victim mentality to me. And why is it, and that's a discussion about power. And, okay, I prefer to not know how powerful I am, and I give other people that power, and I am now at their whim. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening in that. And at any place, you can go, oh, well, what if that was different? And stuff can happen. And so I don't buy into the group morphic field energies as anything other than these are collective beliefs that get set up through consciousness as a group, as a way to bind people together. If we all believe the same thing, then we're together, right? I feel safer if we all believe the same thing. So we have this dance we do. And we're looking to be neutral from a heart-centered awareness of unified consciousness about how we engage these states of awareness and beliefs. And you can't change a morphic field. If you think you're going to change a morphic field, good luck with that, and a morphic field could be, we're all going to hell in a handbasket. All right. What you can change effectively, though, is how you relate to that morphic field. And so I'm always with people looking at what's this collective belief, if it's a collective belief that we're looking at, and going, what if you could relate to it differently? I'm not going to convince 10 million people that isn't so. And it's kind of a fruitless energy for me, unless everything is so congruent within me that I can be the change to the degree that would totally disperse that field of awareness down. Now, I can be the change in what I can be the change if I have it set up that way, so that I don't empower that anymore. And if you want to believe that, that's fine. And in that, I start to perhaps affect that morphic field, because the morphic field is a collective of thoughts, collective of emotions, collective of unconscious and conscious information. And me being congruent within my system of how I want to organize and experience my world is powerful enough to make a change. I just have to be congruent with that. Those are my.
That's great. That was a great, that you can't change a morphic field because that is a power outside focus.
Right.
And when you're focused outside yourself, you're disempowering yourself. Mm-hmm. It's really, it's like an actor trying to, fight with the scenery. And, the victim and victimizer, the power that is dominant, that both of those are powerless stances, because the person who is trying to dominate, their focus and power is placed outside themselves. They can't, it's like, a bully will not bully you if you stand in your own power. It's no fun. And those are just one of the many roles that we can play out in the world. Years ago, I went through a facilitator training at Findhorn in Scotland, and there was a great theory about groups, and that there are energetic spaces for all these typical roles in a group, and including, the person who's like the rebel or the troublemaker. And those spaces are available for anybody to step into when they're in a group dynamic. And they were telling us this so that as facilitators, you don't get stuck on a personality who is behaving a certain way, because you know that they have just simply stepped into that role. And so you think they're within a morphic field, or within any kind of group, society, anything you're in, there will be those roles and spaces that you can step into and you can step out of. It's amazing. You can be standing there and you can let that opportunity pass you by and see somebody else stand up and get themselves into trouble. So, it's not you don't take it personally, and you're not fated to be in that role. You can step in and out of those dynamics.
And that is having choice and being aware of how you use your power. Because you can set it up to believe I'm always the one who gets sat on, right? I'm always the one who has to be the martyr. I'm always the one, whatever. And those kind of are hidden agendas often that motivate us into things. And because we've made some agreement at some point originally that we would like to experience life that way. Now, when I say that, there's no judgment in that. All right. And I want everyone to hear that very clearly. There is nothing wrong with being in pain. There is nothing wrong with being a troublemaker. There is nothing wrong. Those are just actions that bring out certain experiences as consciousness and human. If you take all that layering and protesting, and I can hear a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, people, it's just information. What would you like to do? It's our game. How do you want to play it? How are you cooking, by the way? What have you cooked, right?
So there's a great analogy there, too, because if you think that there are recipes, and recipes are an analogy for those set patterns or scripts that we go by. And, there's, in order to create a certain recipe or create a certain dish, you do have to go through the basics in a recipe, but you really have freedom to add less salt, throw in another spice or whatever to have your own unique experience of it. So you don't have to throw the entire dish out in order to make something gluten-free or vegan. You just use different ingredients in there. And, your family, well, they may want to disown you for changing the recipe, but you get to consciously create within your life, within your reality, what you want to taste and how you want to make it. So that's the world. The world is not going to end because you chose to serve Chinese food on a Friday.
Well, and you bring up a good point, those holidays when you want that dish, right? And you don't want it any different. That's the dish you want. Somehow it got encoded to feeling safe or good or nourishing or whatever. It soothed you in some way, right? And then there's a time when you take that dish all apart and you deconstruct it and you use totally different ingredients, and it looks nothing at all like what might have been on the paper. But there are some times when you just want a specific thing, and all is good. Having the versatility and the permission to yourself to, well, what happens if I add this in here, or what is the unexpected. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, um, but it's the enjoyment and the thrill of, well, let me try it this time, or the ingredient is more fresh here than over there. It's all about enjoying life. It's about how enriching we find life to be. And I have no idea where we're going with all that, but
I got a couple ideas.
Okay.
I had a couple ideas here. One was the idea that you're talking about recipes at holidays, and people show up. People show up at family gatherings at holidays, and they just expect the dynamics to remain the same.
Oh, that's true.
And everybody regresses to the ages they were when they all came together.
Yeah.
And there's no acknowledgement that Johnny Jr. is now a Harvard PhD who is or Mary now has 5 kids of her own. Everybody is back into throwing mashed potatoes at each other across the room. So
and then there's the aunt who brings the Jello with the something in it, and nobody likes it, and they bring it every year because they think they like it, right?
Exactly, right. Or they
too.
never liked it either, but their great aunt Mary did, and that's where you have to go back generations sometimes to unravel what exactly is going on. And then you've got mixed families and blended families, and you've got the stepmothers coming in with their own bizarre, batshit crazy behaviors that are very normal on that side of the fence, but it's like doesn't make any sense over here. So just because there's a conspiracy, you don't have to act paranoid, is what I jotted down here. Just because people are talking behind your back doesn't mean you can't. You will go insane trying to go put out the fires that are being created through gossip and conspiracy. The way to handle all that is to stand in your own power, and really you as consciousness, your life is between you and consciousness, your own consciousness. So all that other stuff just evaporates, goes away, doesn't have any power on you. It's not going to affect you navigating through your life if you don't engage with it.
And we don't know where we are in relationship sometimes. And so things can happen, and you were okay in your experience, and someone else watching it went, oh, and has their experience of you and your experience, and the story continues, and something else goes on, and all of it is just okay, because sometimes our roles change, we do different things, and it's all exciting and vibrant, though. It's what life is about. So let's see if we start to bring this back, everyone. Notice if you fell asleep while you were enjoying your cup of tea or something. Notice if you served everyone. Come back into that kitchen and allow the cleanup to be magical and easy. Oh, because sometimes it's the way to finish the meal off. We like doing the dishes and by hand and putting the good china away and washing the glasses, and just come back and notice how you feel now in that emotional terrain and what that's like. And take your shoes off and relax your feet and just have a seat. And it's all done. It was a great experience. You tried something new, something different happened. You had a new taste. And you just experienced consciousness in all its myriad of possibilities, or a few of them anyway, and just come back and just notice what it's like to just breathe again and bring into this awareness of whatever you are doing in life, and hold out for just a few more minutes. We've got a few messages we want to pass along. And just breathe and just notice the rest of the day. Drink plenty of water and allow yourself to go, whoa, what if I wasn't so attached to that idea about that? Let's let it go. Let's go. Maybe take some fruit or veggies or brownies to the neighbor or the person who you have an issue with. See what happens. There we go. Yeah. That's feeling nice.
Yeah.
I think people are high on chocolate. Or do you get low on chocolate?
I think you get a sugar high, and then what
Crash.
happens? That crash, right? That's it.
Dark chocolate. It was dark chocolate, people.
There we go.
There we go.
Yesterday was Cinco de Mayo, so I guess they were all having their pollo con mole with the chocolate sauce. So.
Sounds good. Well, this is nice. So, just invite you to enjoy this. Doesn't matter what you do the rest of the day. You can hold this state. Yeah.
So I just want to let folks know of other ways to get in touch with us. We love hearing from you. You can join us on Facebook by going to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Join the group and join the fun. You can follow us on Twitter at Joan and Janet. And you can email us at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. And there's a brand new thing that both Janet and I are doing now is we are having monthly conference calls. The one coming up this month is on Thursday, May 28th. So if you ever wish that you could be with us during our chats here, you can join our Conscious Conference call with Joan and Janet and get up and close and personal with us, get in on the conversation and ask us questions and answers. So again, that's at Thursday, May 28th at 7 p.m. And send us an email to join us.
And they do that at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail. And we'll get you all the facts and figures. And okay, that feels pretty good. And you can reach us, both Joan, at her website, which is
joan-newcomb.com. You can find out all the things that I offer there, the books that I have. I'm doing a series of fun and whimsical videos called Mystic Minutes. You can find those there, and you can also see about the services that I offer.
And you can reach me at janetandbeyond.com. And I got some neat things going on there. And you can sign up for my blog, sign up for Joan's blog on her website. And we try and keep people posted on what's happening in life. And you can check our blog out at the BBS network here and at different places. And so let's just think what it's like to have a nice, relaxing afternoon. Oh boy, I like it, Joan. It feels good.
You know, I also want to remind folks that you can follow me on Twitter at Joan Newcomb. I have a lot of fun there. You can see pictures of corgis, and I retweet certain kinds of political views as well. And you, as I mentioned, that you can follow us at Joan and Janet on Twitter as well. Let me see. And you mentioned blogs. I'm trying to think of any other social media. You and I are both on LinkedIn. And you and I are both on Facebook too. And you've got links on your new website to that as well.
Right. Yeah, boy.
What am I talking about? We have a YouTube channel. So,
that's right.
You can find us on YouTube. Go to Conscious Conversations. You can also look up Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. There's both of those taglines to find us. And you can find all our previous radio shows there as well. So we are out there in the world, and share us with the world.
Please do that. We invite you to invite your friends to, and this is not for everybody. It is for everybody, but not everyone will take it, right? You can lead the horse to water, but it doesn't have to drink. So, being curious is a wonderful thing, and tapping into your own knowledge, what you know for you, is not necessarily what other people have told you. And we don't even tell you to trust us. I mean, it's not about that.
So hey, that we're leading into a whole topic for other shows, and we're going to leave them wanting more. So I'm going to let folks know you've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan Newcomb.
And I'm Janet Barrett, and it's been delightful to be with you this time, as it always is.
Thank you all for joining us as Consciousness Expressing and Evolving.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Thanks so much for helping to co-create the show. No matter whether you're tuning in live or listening on demand, you energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next Wednesday for another great show at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and 10 p.m. UTC.